Reawaken to your immortal identity and discover life between life's wisdom. Presented by the Michael Newton Institute. Welcome to Discover Life Between Life's Wisdom podcast. 20 years ago, our next guest, Rashmi Anand, walked away from a violently abusive marriage with 2 small children. A 9-year-old daughter who had become quiet and withdrawn, and a 5-year-old son who had stopped speaking completely from trauma. She came out without any financial support whatsoever. As you can imagine, life has been a struggle every step of the way. But Rashmi says that women are the phoenixes of life, and that even our tears have healing power. Having voluntarily counseled thousands of women at the Crime Against Women cell of Delhi Police over a period of 5 years, as well as at a personal level, she has tried to make sure that no woman should have to endure what she has been through. Rashmi Anand is an author, counselor, and social worker, and today she works with the very issues that devastated the lives of her children and her, issues of gender and domestic violence. She has prepared 2 widely acclaimed ready reference booklets for the Special Police Unit for Women and Children, New Delhi, on women and child laws, their rights, as well as the duties of society. Rashmi gives talks and lectures at schools, colleges, and universities on gender issue, joy, abundance, positivity, duties and responsibilities, as well as on acceptance and inclusion. She's a published author of 13 books on gender violence, love, abundance, joy, hope, the human spirit, life, and death. And her book, The Awakening, was picked up by the Chicken Soup for the Soul Inspirational Series. She's an inspirational speaker, talking about her life, on breaking through, and on the human spirit, love, laughter, religion, and spirituality. Rashmi's incredible journey and her dedication to women and children's rights have been acknowledged worldwide. She's received several awards and been featured on social awareness shows, showcased in books, articles, and documentaries has been made about her life across the world. It's with great joy I welcome our guest, Rashmi Anand.
Hi, and welcome to the Michael Newton Institute's podcast series. A very warm welcome to you, Rashmi, on behalf of Vibecke and I.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's truly our pleasure, to have someone like you with the journey that you've been on, that's continuing. You're continuing to touch so many hearts, so many minds. You're continuing to inspire, motivate. I mean, I'll be very honest with you, having known you for all these decades, when I read your books, I've got all with me. There's this huge, I'm getting goosebumps even when I'm speaking. It filled me as a woman and as a practitioner of spiritual hypnotherapy. It filled me with a sense of wonder, a sense of joy, a sense of tremendous power and strength. And there's this deep flow of love that's coming your way. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So for our viewers, I want us to actually delve into a topic, a subject that again and again has come up in the work that we do, which is the energy of the divine feminine. Now, when we say divine feminine, there's this immediate sense of power that we as women who are in the world that we're in and the work that we do, there's a resonance, there's a vibration that you feel. Rashmi, for you, and coming from the life that you're coming from, the life that you lead, the kind of lives that you touch, and the work that you do, can you, from your perspective, share with us what is the divine feminine for you?
So for me, the divine feminine is what we call in our Indic civilization, Shakti, power, energy, the beginning of all, the end of all, and she is all and everything, right? Divine consciousness is Shiva, and divine energy is Shakti. So she is the power that simply is. She exists, according to our scriptures, the power, that energy exists around us, above us, below us, but most of all within each of us, man or woman. And um, to connect to her, I feel, and to connect to that Shakti, the divine feminine within you. We are a civilization, we're the only living civilization actually, that conceives of the feminine as being a, a manifestation of God, right? And in that, if we continue that thought, then we all have that divine and we are divine. So, somewhere the divine feminine is us, but someone we forget, and we shouldn't. So, that is the power within us, the ability to do things, the ability to change lives, to take action, to do anything and everything. The very movement around us, the movement within us, the spiritual movement, our force as human beings, what we put into this world, it's all energy, it is all Shakti. So that is the divine feminine.
So beautifully put. And, this brings into my space that when we guide clients, or when we are even in one-on-one sessions, or when we're doing group healing sessions, it is so beautiful when, and then what comes to my space is when we do sessions where the spirit guide appears energetically or in form for the client. And many clients, and they're just so heart-filling when they perceive the feminine energy. And the words that we usually pick up from clients are power, a lot of love, a lot of nurturing, nourishing energy, very caring, very compassionate, a lot of kindness. And there is in that energy a lot of potency. But what I've seen in a lot of these sessions, and particularly a few cases are flowing into my space, even when I'm listening to you, is how seeing those energies, seeing those potent powers or strengths in the spirit guide, in that divine feminine form that they are probably at that point encountering, sometimes maybe for the very first time, it ignites in them, or if I may say so, it awakens in them that dormant, potent power sitting in them. So when you were talking about the above, the below, and the around, and then you said within, that kick-starting, or the fact that you just plugged it in, and that sheer joy, or that bliss that glows, and when you see it, there's this moment of grace that you feel, even yourself as a therapist or a facilitator at that time, so blessed and so humbled that this is happening in your presence. And this then takes me to my next question. That would be, you've been writing, Rashmi, you've been writing such amazing stuff, and I just especially love your poems, and the ones where there's this whole understanding of the elements. And elements play a large role in our daily lives, in our moment-to-moment existence. We're made of the elements. We go back into the elements, if I think of our physical form. But from the soul's perspective, from the spirit's perspective, and from your perspective as an author, as an influencer, as a collaborator, a contributor, who's got so many names for you, what would you perceive, or how would you share your thoughts and your understanding on the concepts of elements?
So again, we come again. I could keep going back to our roots, our shared roots, in fact, of the Indic ways, right? And again, our civilization talks about panchabhuta, or the five elements that exist around us, that manifest the world, and we as human beings, and they are carried, that those five elements are within each and every being that exists. That is why we have utter reverence for every being. We say namaste, right? We bow down to the divine in front of us. That is the Hindu way, because we are actually bowing our head to the divinity of the five elements inside of you. So that divinity we see as a manifestation, in fact, in our temples. There are five temples dedicated to the five elements. And those are the male form in those temples, the Shiva, is unmanifest without Shakti, the female power. So it is the goddess who actually manifests Shiva in those temples. And the beauty of our the five elements and what we think of it is that each element has different kinds of manifestation. So when my first book was called Woman of the Elements. And so can I give a little bit of a background about that? So I went, my, it, that was like a kickstart of my spiritual journey, Woman of the Elements. I think from my background, I had been so frightened and I had kept so silent so many years that when I came out, there was this outpouring of words and verses that just flowed out of me. And I think it was a kind of a rediscovery of the self. You know, when I came out, I kept thinking, why did this happen to me? And you keep going to, again, spiritual practitioners, you go to astrologers, you go to psychics, you go to people who will try and give you some kind of an answer as to why. And I went to the Nadi, which is like a spiritual predictive scripture, and that gives the journey of the soul over lifetimes. And it is there that I realized so many truths. I realized karam, what you call karma, okay? That is the other variation of karam as we say it. And I realized karuna, which is compassion. And one is not complete without the other. So, our actions, our thoughts, our speech, again, all of these, the root of that is energy. What is the energy that we are putting into this world? And then I started, you know, um, trying to understand what are where's this energy flowing from? What makes me angry at some point in time, but gentle at other times? What makes me fiery and ready to battle? And what makes me a mother to my children? You know? So what are the manifestations of that energy? And really speaking, I didn't think so much when I was writing the book because it just flowed out. My books are strange. They are very different, hard to explain. But the source is far bigger than me. It's not me. And I always believe that these books are not mine. They do not belong to me. They've come for a purpose and they're going to fulfill their own destiny apart from me. So I feel, so when I started writing, the first verse that came out was the verse on water. And I had this habit of keeping paper and pencil on my bedside table, and the verses would just flow out. And they went on and on and on. And there were 32 verses on water. And then there was, after that, fire came, and then air came, and then the last of all was earth. And air is your mind, water is your emotion. I think I was so full of emotion, having suppressed my emotions for so long. And that's how water flowed out. And there was fire because it was the inside of me, there was anguish and anger and a certain fire that needed to come out into the fore because it again it had been suppressed. My mind had never been allowed to flourish. So that, the verses just flowed. And then there was earth. And I think it came last because I was deeply disconnected with my body, which had been battered so much. So that was one part of it. And then there was space. Now, I didn't understand when I wrote that, or whatever wrote that, whichever energy wrote that. But I realized that space, that all encompassing space, all the verses of space are actually the goddess. It is the divine feminine. She is that. She is each one of them, and her manifestations are all of these. But also, she is that one all-encompassing space. So that was my journey. I'm sorry I strayed a little away from what you actually questioned, but it's all so interrelated, And one more thing I'd like. Okay, you tell me.
Finish what you're saying, because there's something else you
Yes.
want to say. Go for
Yes.
it.
So I feel that one of the reasons why so much came out in the way that it did, the spirituality or the the spiritual roots, somewhere, I think these things exist in your blood. At the very core of who you are is your identity. Your identity is shaped by the people in your family, your mother, your parents, and the rest of your bloodline, and in my case, and your civilization, where you come from, the culture that has so impacted your upbringing and your growing up years. In my case, I came from a family which saw the horrors of partition. We came as refugees from Pakistan and into India. And I had three aunts, my father's three sisters, my entire family that was my father's family was deeply, deeply spiritual. And more than anything, it was my father's three sisters. The youngest was beautiful and she was, deeply spiritual, did a lot of social work. The middle sister was known as Param Pujya, and she was the head of this ashram. And she had a gift that whenever any of her devotees would ask her a question on spirituality, still has, she's passed on, but her ashram exists, does a lot of work on women's issues as well in Haryana. And whenever she was asked a question, she would reply to her devotees in verse. So the verses would just flow out of her. And I always believe, and there are over 5,000 pages of verse from her. There are about, I think, nearly over 1,000 or 1,500 hymns that have been set to music, which are from her flow. No, and it's very beautiful. I always feel that my ability to write spiritual verse is her blessing. And then I had the third aunt, who was the oldest, and at partition, she never got married. None of two of the sisters never got married, and she opened her home to destitute women. And she, with partition, a lot of women were left on the roads and abandoned. And she would go from place to place, picking up these women, bringing them into her home, and her institution, social workers' home, is still, working with women's rights and women's issues. So I think service, spirituality, these very interconnected things, there are certain things that run in your blood. And I'm very blessed to be uh, born in this family. And it's just that, such things had to be battered out, out of me. But maybe, everything is a journey. And I had to learn maybe the hard way. But I think one of the best fallouts possible was that it came out. So I'm blessed for that.
When you're sharing what you're sharing, Rashmi, it brings me to a lot of times we've had clients come to us where there has been a series or years of abuse, and the fact that they have stayed in a space of feeling I'm a victim, and then when they come for a session, and the beauty of a LBL session, rather similar, when you went to the Nadi Shastra and you had somebody literally demystify, disentangle, and give you the whole picture. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that's being put together for you, right? The beauty of a LBL session, I think I speak on behalf of Vibecke, myself, and many, many of my fellow practitioners, that's what we see unfold in that session. Yeah? And the thing is, that's where you can understand the conditionings of your ancestors, your paternal and your maternal. When you were talking about your aunts, if you think about it, in you, in your genes, you are carrying a lot of those gifts, if I may say them as gifts, strengths. And then you faced a time of life or a phase of life where you got really, really battered. You were being pushed to the ground. And that pressure that pushed you to the ground cracked the shell. And it allowed all these very potent powers and energies to now come forth. Now, I think I again speak on behalf of all of us who are in this world of therapy. Writing is considered always cathartic. We encourage our clients to write. We ourselves write. I mean, I, for one, I've been doing this ever since I was in school. I think I must have started when I was in grade 4 or something, and it's continued. It never stopped. But a lot of these poems are very personal, because when I've gone through my tough phase, which I've shared with both of you, writing was for me at a time pure catharsis, and there was no therapist who had told me write. It was just, as you said, your words was your one way of offloading or allowing the overflowing cup of emotion to just flow. But what is so beautiful is, because you had this beautiful gift within you, where the divine chose to channel certain things through you, and then you become this person whose responsibility, or if I may say the duty, is to then carry that forward and to touch other hearts, to inspire and motivate others who are going through possibly the same kind or maybe similar kinds, who can resonate with what you're going through. So in that pain, or in that tough point, which we would probably say suffering, in that suffering, there was huge learning sitting. And the moment that learning kicked in, that potent power of the feminine, that awakened. And the first person you would give that compassion to was to yourself.
Yes, and also it was not so much learning as relearning of the self.
That's it. That's
That I think that is what was the germ of it. So I want to share one verse with you at this, with this
please,
thought. Yeah.
please.
So you're curled up like that, and then you learn to move up and out, and the first discovery of self. I am the winged maiden, ever in free flight, lady of wind and magic, lady of soul and light. I am the winged observer, my life spirit pervades and flows, ever vigilant watcher of all life's joys and woes. With all through every moment, be it happiness or sorrow, I have ever encompassed all through yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I am the winged knower, forever I'm in flight. Outside and then I turn within on the journey of insight. I free my soul and stretch my wings. All limits I fly beyond, beyond the realm of love and dreams, beyond every earthly bond. Air, woman of the air I am. So this was the first step to that question of who am I? And then, it led to the next step in that journey, which is, you know, what am I here for? What is my purpose? So, bluest of blue, moving in me, calmness and tranquility. There is love, peace, balance, harmony in the gentle flowing sweetness of me. Aligned am I to every moment of nature, ordered to the nature of the moment, finding my peace and balance with unassuming modesty. I flow on, ever serving, living the secret the universe has whispered to me that when you serve others, you restore yourself. True power lies in serving others selflessly. Water, water, woman I am. So, through that, we think that we're doing for other people. Oh, we are so great. Look at how much service we're doing. But it's not true. You're healing yourself when you serve other people. You're doing it selfishly. There's some part of you which is getting healed every time you heal someone. So that is one part.
What you said is so, so true, because I think every client who comes through, and I think we all know this, that in helping or enabling, I would use the word enabling, that client connect or that person connect to that potent power within. And when you allow that to unfurl and flourish and flower, and then enable that, so you really heal yourself. And all that I would do is probably hold space, enable, encourage. And at times, you're really doing that little nudging, pushing that needs to be done to get the person to that point, right? But in the process, if we truly believe that nothing is a coincidence, and everything we encounter, every moment of our life is because there's a bigger picture, then all these clients that we manifest, all these clients that we enable, we work with, we facilitate, students, clients, anyone, they're actually every step of the way enabling our soul to stay on track with our own soul's mission. Because we've come with a soul script. And it's as if they're helping us to continue to stay with that script.
Yes. Also, uh, when you are flowing positivity into this world, it's going to reflect back at you. It's as simple as that. When you are in front of somebody who's positive, you're imbibing that. In our civilization, we have a word called sangat, which means the collective. So if you want to make the collective better, you stay with those that are positive and create more positivity around you. And that is the way forward. And it's hard to stay positive when times are hard and when circumstances are not in your favor, but you have to have the faith to go on. Can I read one more? Yeah. So when times are hard, the turn of the course can be daunting when I go through paths unexplored, but I keep to my spontaneous natural goodness. It's my innocence that takes me onward. I flow on with confidence. I know the patterns will emerge. I have an acceptance of all that is fated, whether joy or pain may surge. I have absolute faith in the absolute. I have belief without seeing. I perceive the limits of my own power, but hope courses through my entire being. Oh, yes, beginnings are difficult. It is tumult that brings forth nurturing rain. But at every ending, there must be new beginnings, and there must be joy after pain. Water, water, woman I am.